Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Johnny Chess, and today we will discuss about encryption. Um, the reason why the reason why I want to discuss about encryption is because, this is actually one of the things that I did when I was in elementary school. Basically, do you guys remember, or you're probably familiar with this concept, right? Um, where you actually swap letters so that it means something else, right? Like you, you want to spell out something, but then it's kind of reversed with another letter. Therefore, um, it is basically like there is a formed encryption, right? It's like very simple. Basically, let's just make an example, right? Like for instance, this one: ABCDEFGHIJ, right? The simplest one will be one letter after. So if I write A, then it will be B. If I write B, then it will be C, and then so on and so on, right? So like this is actually quite fun. I did this with my friend as well. Although I was not really the one who created this back then. Um, like like my friends just talk to each other, right? Like they made letters because apparently, yeah, like back then letters were still a thing. um you like right now you could just text someone, right? But you actually can do that as well, like do something like this, right? But back then, because there's no phone, we just use paper, right? And then we write something on the paper, I mean. But the thing is that um if we write on the paper, then someone else can see, right? Therefore we make this kind of encryption so that it's like what is it, like a code basically, that only you and the other person can determine, right? By determine, I mean like understand themselves basically what the letter means, right? Because they all know the codes. And yeah, the simplest one will be that, like it's probably like after one, probably like maybe the code is one. So if I want to say the name Danny Chess, then it will be CD M 8 B, what else? Danny CH will be G, and then E will be D, and then Z will be Y. Okay, so like this, for instance, if the code is 1, therefore it's just one letter after, right? Which is like D, E, after M is N, H, I, B, C, G, H, D, E, then Y, Z. So it's just Deniches, right? Yeah, this is like basically, it's actually fun. The key is that only you and your friend that can know, right? Although technically, you can actually try one by one, right? You can, if it still doesn't make the word, then you can change the base into adding one number, right? So if it's like C, then it will be E, T will be F, and then M will be O, S, J, etc., etc., until it actually made like make a real word, right? And that's when you basically know that it's the correct one, right? Because it makes a word out of that codes basically. So this one also then became a movie, I think. If you guys remember the Imitation Game, yeah, Imitation Game, right? The Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, tried to make a computer to solve this, right? So there is an encryption, and then they try to, encode, right, with the Enigma. Although I'm not entirely sure um, how the Enigma works. Like, it's just looks like a typewriter, right? Like regular typewriter, and then here they have the setting, right? Like the setting basically. So what does the setting mean? I honestly don't know. But if you do the code thing, the encryption using what I have mentioned earlier, then it will become a giant loop, right? Like A becomes B, uh, P becomes C, D, E, like it will just loop back, right? Like for instance, you can also do the same thing as well. Like for instance, um, like basically it will continue, right? Like you can also do like A will become, for instance, it's two letter after, then it will become A will be C, and then C become E, and then become G, I, etc., etc., right? And then maybe it will loop back into A, but I don't think so. Wait, it's like base 2, right? So there's only 26 letter, then there will be another circle, I think, because the last one will be Y, and then Y will be A, right? And then so on and so on. Because it's like 1 3 5 7, right? It's like the odd number of alphabet, right? And then it will loop back basically. And then the rest will be like B, D, F, H, J, L, and P, etc., etc., right? And then the last one will be Z basically. So it's like a two giant loop, right? Um, you know, Now I don't know if Enigma does things like this as well. Like one letter will, like become, will make a loop into others, or it can be like there's a bigger loop and then there's smaller loops, like which is possible honestly. Like um for instance, A will be like K, and then K will be P, and then P will be Y, and then Y will be B, and then B will be H, and then H will be G, and then G will be A, right? Therefore this is like a one closed loop, right? And then there's another one, like for instance, the rest, like let's say D becomes I, and then I becomes Z, right? And then it goes back to D, so it's like a loop of three basically. And then there is this one again. If the letter is let's say like it is an M, and then it'll become Q, and then it'll become R, and then it'll become uh, F, and then it loops back to M, right? And then it's another one. Or even the letter is a single loop, so that it's just itself. Like for instance, O. So the letter O will be referred to O, right? Because in itself, right? I think Enigma works like this, but I am not entirely sure. But it's actually possible, right, to make encryption like this. Like the O will stay because the O refers to itself, right? Whereas the other one refers to one another, and then it refers to itself in the end, right? In the end of the chain. So it's like a closed loop, basically. So and then this one's the rest of them, right? Which is possible. I don't know if it works like this, but this is all become an encryption in its own, right? But the thing is, the settings for knowing that this is like this probably will be difficult, right? Like you need to know the member of the loop, why is it's like that, these letters, and then what's the pattern, right? Basically, and then this one, and then why is the O in itself? So what clue will make us know that the O doesn't refer to other letters, right? And then there's this giant loop, right? Basically the rest of them. But then again, um how do you know if the sequence is like that, right? Like this is like the rest of it, right? Like for instance, J, after J will be like for instance phi, and then phi will be like X. But the thing is, how do you know if J will be phi? Why is it not J become X, right? and then X becomes something else, and then something become V, and then become back to J, right? Like what's the clue or rule for this, right? Which will be interesting, will become complicated, right? But yeah, um, so like back then I only knew the simplest one, basically like the number to count, like for instance 10. So like um, I just like for instance I wrote this text for instance, then it will be 10 letters after this, right? So after A will be B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, K, and then after A is 10 letters after that, which will be um, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, right? R, and then something like that, right? So it's just simple because of that. Also, then think of it like, like because there are 26 alphabets, right? Like the example that I mentioned earlier, for instance, the alphabet that is odd number of sequence, then it will be, next to become after that. Uh, but alphabets that is in even number will be before that, right? That's something else, right? That's like interesting, right? So there is two loops, right? And then this will loop back into the last one will be y, and then y will loops back to a, right? And then the rest of these, the c, I mean the b will refer to z, right? And then it will go back, right? Which is interesting, like rules, some rules like that, you just basically say odd even, like maybe that's the clue, right? Odd even, so the odd will be one after and the even will be one before or even one after as well, right? Which is possible anyway. But then yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, I still don't know how you would like understand how the other person's setting will be, right? That's why there is the Enigma machine, which we'll talk in the future as well as the movie itself, but we will talk about it in separate videos. So there will be like the machine itself and then the movie itself, right? But then again, yeah, it's actually quite fun. I was enjoying this a lot at certain point until like just like any other trend, it ended, right? So we did something like this for a while, and then um, we did something like this for a while, and then after that it just stop, right? Because I think we're like like at the last class, I think last grade, and then we need to focus on something like exam, right? Final exam or something like that. But it's actually quite interesting, again, interesting concept. You can always make your rule by your own, right? Like just before I made this video, like later on I also thought about the Fibonacci, probably, like um the sequence of the letter that is in in the sequence of Fibonacci. So Fibonacci is starts with 0 1 1 2 3 5 8 13 21, and that's it, right? So this can also be the code in its own. So the letter that is in this number of sequence will be make its own loop, and then the rest will make its own loop as well, right? Which is interesting if you ask me. It means that um, the letter A, B, C, uh, and then E, and then 8 will be F, I think. No, it's H. 8, and then 13 will be 10 is J, 11, 12, 13, KLM, and then after that 21, which will be 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. It's 5 letter before Z, so that will be U V W. I mean X Y. It's T, I think. But yeah, I'm not sure. Wait, let's just JKLMNOPQRSTU. Oh no, never mind. It's U. V WXYZ. Yeah, it's U, right? So, like these letters will make its own loop. So, A will be B, B will be C, but then C will be E, right? And then E will be H will be M will be U, and then U will be A. And then the rest will form its own loop, like, so, like D, and then F, G, and then, D is F, F is G, and then G is I is J, K, L, and then after L will be N. The M is skipped, and something like that, right? So it creates its own loop as well, which is interesting. And like I guess, let me know if you guys actually ever did this, either back then, just to make like a letter to your friend or something like that, code that only you and your friend that know how to cipher it, and then decipher it, right, or encrypt it, or unencrypt it, right? But yeah, I think that'll be it for today's discussion about this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know again if you have ever tried this. And yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. I will see you again tomorrow with another discussion, and see ya.